Humidity. Tuk, 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 tuk. Hi there, my name is Adina from plantsbutbetter, and today we're discussing everything there is to know about Cebu Blue Pothos, or Epipremnum Pinnatum Cebu Blue, or just simply Cebu Blue. This plant is a bit more common in the United States, and here in Europe it was a time when it was quite rare and the prices were pretty sky high, but right now they are more available in here as well, so that's the good news. For the care meter, I give this plant a 9 out of 10 because it's super easy care. I mean, it's just like any other pothos, but it's blue, so it's a bit fancier, you know. It could easily be a 10 out of 10, but I'm biased because I love this plant so much, so let's just stick with 9 for now. Let's talk about light. Like most plants, this Cebu Blue prefers bright and direct light. The better the light, the better the growing. And although some sources claim that it could withstand medium light as well, well, you should be aware that the leaves will slowly get smaller and smaller, and you could easily end up with a leggy plant. If your home doesn't allow a great source of natural light, you can easily help it with grow lights. I tried that as well. I mean, each and every plant in here is actually helped with grow lights, and as you can see, they are totally fine, so you can use them as well. Great, let's move on to watering. Have I mentioned that this pothos is just like any other pothos, so you can water it once a week during summer, and maybe during winter you have to stretch that period of time to once every 10 days to even 14. It really depends on how warm your home is and if you have great ventilation. This is how you will adjust your schedule. And remember, Cebu Blue will prefer dry soil over watering. Yeah, over excess water. So it's best to always check the soil before with your finger, you know, to see if it's damp or not so much. Great, what about temperature? Average, I mean, anything between 20 to 26 degrees Celsius is great. I mention in almost every video that you should not let your plant in temperatures below 15 degrees Celsius for a long period of time. This is a problem because this will cause root rot, this will cause damage on the leaves, this can cause edema and all that stuff. Anyway, you can keep it in your average home temperature, it will do great. It's not a pretentious plant. Humidity. Tuk, 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 tuk. What about humidity? Well, Cebu Blue can be grown in your average home humidity, like something between 50 to 60% is great. If you can provide a bit more humidity, well, that is great because you will promote some aerial roots. Maybe right now I will show a B-roll with some high quality aerial roots that will help with propagation, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. Great, what about fertilizer? Again, I say this in almost every houseplant care guide video I have out there. I fertilize my houseplants once a month during growing season, and usually in the winter I stop doing that because most plants go through dormancy and they don't need feeding if they are not growing. It's pretty much common sense. I use an NPK of 10-10-10, but you could also use an NPK a bit higher in nitrogen because that will promote the foliage growth. However, be careful to not over fertilize this plant, and I will show you a picture right here with the damage caused by over fertilizing. Also, if you just got your plant, just wait for a couple of months until you fertilize because it could have some sort of fertilizer in there. And other than that, maybe if you over fertilize and you notice that too late, just don't fertilize it for, again, a couple of months, just to make sure that the plant and the foliage will recover. Okay, let's talk about substrate. Epipremnum Cebu Blue prefers a lightweight substrate. So for example, I have in my mix some cocoa fiber with some perlite and some pine barks. You can also add some regular potting soil to this mix. Whatever you do, just make sure that your substrate is very airy and it lets the water drain fast. A lighter substrate will ensure the health of your roots. So that's why I'm advocating in every video about cocoa chips and perlite and all that great stuff to add in your mix. What about plastic versus terracotta? Well, the great news is that you can grow this plant in both. I have mine in plastic, but it's more convenient for me like that. If you like terracotta more, just be a bit careful because terracotta is porous and it helps water evaporate faster. But other than that, you can definitely use both. So no need to worry. Let's talk about repotting. And you can do that in the growing season. I know it's not 100% necessary, but during growing season, the roots have a faster recovery rate, if that makes sense. So if you did some damage in trying to untangle those roots, they will do great if the season is a bit warmer and, you know, that growing rate kicks in and helps the roots recover. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
No, what
I'm talking about. But I mean, do you? If your plant really needs a repot during winter, do it. It's very okay to do it. When you repot, replace your current pot with another one slightly bigger, not double the size, because the roots won't do well in a great amount of substrate. They will not be able to absorb all the water and they will slowly rot. So that's why upgrade little by little. Great, let's move on to propagation. And I have with me this little one right here. Let's see how much you can focus on the plant and not my face. Okay, so this is the result of this. And I will show in here some leafless node cuttings that I propagated in cocoa fiber or wet sticks. I mean, they are the same thing. If your plant has leggy vines, you can help it recover or do a makeover by cutting your stems into segments that will contain at least one node. And if you have some aerial roots, that is even better because they will be the future roots for your plant. You have your wet sticks, you place them in a clean container with some sphagnum moss or maybe some cocoa fiber, spray them with a bit of water and place them in a zip bag. That's how you will ensure high humidity, and high humidity will promote your new growth. Another way to propagate this plant is by cuttings that, again, they have to have one node, at least one node, and a leaf. You can place it directly into soil or you can place it in water. I like to do it with water. So I will present you some cuttings grown in water, as you can see. This is a top cutting that has some promising roots right there. And this one is a mid cutting. This is one of the easiest way to propagate your pothos with water. So try that because you will definitely have a great success rate. These are definitely ready for soil. Let's move on to pests. I had mealybugs on the Cebu Blue before, but they were so tiny and I catch them in time because I pay attention to my plants every time I water them, and I advise you to do the same. You can get rid of mealybugs with some rubbing alcohol and some Q-tips and they will be gone. But if you have a greater infestation, you will have to do some treatments. Thrips are another pest that could appear on your Cebu Blue. I had them on other types of pothos, and I would say the Cebu Blue can be a host for them as well. Other than that, this plant is very friendly. So if you check your leaves constantly, you will not deal with major surprises. And last but not least, what about toxicity? And unfortunately, this plant is not pet friendly, so please keep it away from any beautiful and curious pet. Oh, another thing, if you didn't watch the Epipremnum Pinnatum video, these two plants are quite easily confused. You could also watch that video as well. I will link a card in here, so it's easily accessible. You can grow this plant on a pole. You can also grow it on a moss pole. That is even better if you want your plant to give you eventually some fenestrated leaves. But you could also let it be. I mean, it's also very pretty when it's just vining like that. That pretty much sums up this video. We also have an article about this, and if you're interested, you'll find in the description box all those great links. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up because it will help in spreading the message, and you could consider subscribing if you like my face or some plants I have in here in the background. And until next time, don't forget to take care of yourself and your plants. Boop!